Hello to my favorite group of donors. That would be my Celina donors, our Celina donors. I promise I don't say that to every group of donors. Really do just have a love for you guys and wanted to reach out via technology. Obviously, social distancing has challenged our ability to make in person meetings happen. And so, in lieu of doing our in person summer meeting, I thought I'd reach out with a video this year just to update you on all things FCA throughout the past year and update you a little bit on Melanie and myself as well. I recognize and realize that means that there will be no food at this virtual meeting, and so for those of you who are disappointed in that, I promise we will make it a feast next year to make up for it. But anyways, just want to update you guys on Melanie and myself. Many of you know at this point that we added two new additions to our family as of May 13th. Bingham and Tilly are our twins. They're here, they're healthy, and everything's going well. Scout is adjusting to them, to say the least. Sometimes she loves them, other times she smacks them across the head, and I suppose that's just part of being an older sibling a little bit as well. But we're all doing well. The twins have started to sleep through the night over the past couple of weeks here, which helps Melanie and myself feel less like zombies throughout the day. So everything's going well with us. I think overall we're probably just a little bit starved for human interaction and affection. We want to be able to hug people, shake hands, see people, and I think that's not uncommon with everybody in our world right now. But otherwise, we're doing very well. And from an FCA standpoint, I want to provide you all with a year in review. And to back it up a little bit to our Celina meeting last year, though, Jill France said something that stuck with me. She asked if I had any specific examples of impact. I found that I give you guys the statistics a lot, but I don't always dive into the specifics. And I think part of that was it takes time to build the specific examples. It takes time to build relationships and a foundation for sustained ministry over time. But within this past year, there are plenty of specific examples, so I want to make sure that I'm focusing in on a few of those for you guys as I talk you through it. So ultimately, if we start in the summer of last year, it was a couple of weeks after our Celina meeting that we held or hosted an FCA football camp for the Kenmore Garfield High School football team, which is a local Akron inner city school here. And we took them down to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for a 3-day, 2-night overnight camp. We put them up at a local hotel down there in Canton, and we bussed them over to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for practice, which was just a phenomenal experience for many of these kids. They don't even have lights on their home field. They don't generally have lines painted on their home field. So for them to go down to the Pro Football Hall of Fame and practice underneath the lights at night on a field that's turf with lines and got the Pro Football Hall of Fame emblem right there in the center, it was a really cool experience for them. And so we did that with them, and we like I said, put them up in a hotel, and then we would do chapel services at the church, which was next door to the hotel, for the team. And throughout that 3-day period, we did about 4 services for the kids, and really just dug into the basics of Christianity and what it looks like to commit your life to Christ and to follow Him. And out of the 25 athletes and 10 coaches we had there, we ended up having 10 people accept Christ and make that commitment to move forward in their relationship at this camp, which was just phenomenal. But in particular, there was one athlete that I want to share with you about. This young man was the best athlete on the field, no doubt. He was the fastest, the quickest, the most in shape, and the tough part about it was that he knew it. And he acted like it in many ways. And first day of practice, he's out there with his shirt off. He's got his gold cleats on. He's not listening to coaches and this, that, and the other. You can just tell he's got some character issues. And so anyways, we get into camp, and it's the first kind of discussion period. And I'm asking the team, what are you afraid of? And we go around the circle, and many of the kids say, snakes, spiders. Some even got as deep as death. But get to this young man, and he says, I'm not afraid of anything. which kind of just tells you his mentality and the type of kid that he was. And so, anyways, we continued with camp, and he sat through the additional messages throughout the other 2 days, and we got to the last message on the third day, and I brought in a special speaker for camp. This guy was named Marcus McFalling, and Marcus could relate to many of the athletes in the room of having a rough childhood, growing up in the inner city, getting his chance to play college football at Malone, and even coming to the point to where he would have a tryout with the Dallas Cowboys. Go Cowboys. But ending up having an injury and a career-ending injury and getting addicted to painkillers to the point to where he ended up arrested with a felony on his record. But at the end of the day has a tremendous redemption story of turning his life over to God, and so he shared that with the team, and that one young man in particular, by the end of his story, was in tears, and he just cried and cried. I bet he cried for 45 minutes. And the beauty of it was that his head coach, while he's crying, got to go over there and just hug him and just hold on to him while he's crying. And this is in the middle of 35 people who are football players and football coaches, right? There's a lot of pride and ego that goes along with that, and for this young man and his head coach to just hug one another, and the young man to cry for 45 minutes tells you a lot about what God was doing in that room at that time. And I would say there's really no better picture of what FCA does, right? We try to create experiences for young people to experience God, for Him to tear down their walls and attack their heart with His love, and for them ultimately to surrender to Him. And in addition to that, when we can surround those young people by older people that they look up to, that can help them in that walk and be there for them and encourage them, man, there's no better thing than that. So that's just a particular story from camp. We also had another young man out of that camp that we started taking to church with us. I'd go and pick him up on Sunday mornings, and we'd go to church, and I'd take him back home thereafter. And so, yeah, it was just a great camp, very fruitful. A lot of good relationships came out of it. Also in the fall, I became the full-time chaplain at the University of Akron for the football team. And this looked like Thursday night FCA meetings in the football team meeting room right there on campus from 6 to 7 p.m. It was mostly football players, but we opened it up to some other sports as well. We had some men's and women's cross-country runners. We had the women's lacrosse team join us as well. And so it was a nice little group of athletes that we had there. In addition to that, I would travel with the football team to their away games, or if they were at home, I would go to the hotel on Friday nights. Either way, I'd be at the hotel on Friday nights to do a chapel for the team, and we had many athletes, and a lot of the coaches would show up to those chapels as well. And then on Saturday, I'd be on the field with the teams, which was a really cool experience. Obviously, many of you know my background as a former college football coach, so that was a lot of fun for me. And a little side note on that note, I was supposed to go to Clemson with the U of Akron football team this year, and obviously, it was all canceled. So I know that Clemson's almost a four-letter word in Ohio right now, but I was really looking forward to that trip. So you guys pray for me, and hopefully I will process the emotion involved with that. But ultimately the U of Akron huddle was so fruitful as well. I ended up with so many great relationships with coaches and athletes. In particular, there was a group of athletes, about 3 of them, that would come to church with us on and off throughout the rest of the year. And I received 2 text messages from 2 of those athletes that I want to share with you. The first was from a male football player. He texted me on December 10th of 2019, and he said, "I am changing my life around right now, moving forward. Tuesday, December 10th, I openly declare in my heart that Jesus is Lord and God raised him from the dead." And he texted me that over the top of a picture of Romans 10, 9, and 10, which is the verses that he's quoting there. And then I received another text message during the Christmas break period as well from a female lacrosse player And she said, I was just thinking about God, and I just wanted to say that FCA has been the first church group I have felt comfortable in, and I'm thankful that you take the time out of your week to do it every Thursday. Thank you for everything. Just two little snapshots of what was going on in that group, and the importance of what we do within FCA, and the importance of these athletes to me. It was just fun to get to know them, to be there for them, to encourage them. We provide them with food every week, and most weeks it's pizza, and I'm sure they're tired of pizza, but it's just a great way for them to feel comfortable and at home, but also to give them the love of Christ right there where they're at on campus. And so it was a lot of fun engaging in that. Also, throughout the last school year, we launched 5 in-person huddles. One was at Highland High School, which is on the west side of Akron here, and we had a phenomenal female senior athlete that led that group. Their first meeting, she probably recruited 25 people to be there, and she did most of it by herself. It was just phenomenal. And so we had her and a local youth pastor and a teacher at the school all helping out with that group, which was a great launch. We also launched at Barberton High School and Barberton Middle School. 2 coaches there, one at the middle school and one at the high school, leading those huddles. And I actually met the one at the high school through the U of Akron huddle a few years back. And so, once again, the dots kind of connecting there to produce extra ministry opportunities. We also launched our second huddle at Talmadge High School. So we have an all-sports huddle there, which is in many ways our all-star huddle in the area. But we also have a huddle with just the soccer team now. The soccer coach has launched a huddle, and we have a local youth pastor helping with that too. And then we launched our third huddle at Kenmore Garfield High School. Within the Kenmore Garfield system. We have one at the middle school, one with the football team at the high school, and then one now for all sports at the high school as well. And we launched that in the spring, and I went and shared with that group a message, and then I was walking out of that meeting when one of the counselors stopped me in the hall, and she said, "Hey, you with FCA?" And I told her, "Yeah." And she said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I know you guys have been doing this at the middle school for the past 3 or 4 years." She said, "I have kids in my office all the time that talk about how much they like FCA, and so I'm just excited that we've launched it here, this spring." And another one of those just kind of cool, God patting you on the back type of moments, and saying, "Hey, keep it up. You're making an impact." That was good as well. And then, of course, that brings us all the way to kind of mid-March and COVID and social distancing and all that has gone on since then. As you know, that kind of turned schools upside down for a little while. From an FCA standpoint, we transitioned a lot of our ministry efforts to the virtual space. We launched a online coaches huddle and an online athletes huddle, here in the Northeast Ohio area. And ultimately just tried to fill that space virtually for the time being until we can figure out something a little bit different. Also, as we came toward the summer, we had to cancel our in-person camp. It was going to be a 4-day, 3-night overnight camp at a local Christian service camp. Basically, it's like a big playground for middle school and high school age kids. They've got a high ropes course, a pool, kickball field, you name it, all kinds of stuff. And so we're hoping to gear up for that again next summer, but we'll see how everything goes here. And then ultimately, we're just kind of looking toward the fall right now. And as you know, many schools are just getting started. And so from an FCA standpoint, we're trying to figure out from a legal standpoint and from a school rules standpoint what we can do on campus. I think many of us have seen that the virtual space is lacking in many ways when it comes to truly building deep relationships with people. And so from an FCA standpoint, we're going to push toward in-person as much as we can. We're going to try and do it in a safe manner, in a law-abiding manner. But I really think if we want to continue to make an impact, we've got to continue to try and minister to people in person and really just love on them, not through a computer screen. So that's the hope. Obviously, we've got a few weeks here of figuring out what schools are going to do and how everything's going to shake out before that becomes a little bit more concrete. But That's what it looks like for us, and just wanted to take this time to pause and say thank you to all of you. We couldn't do what we do without your help, without your support. It means the world to us. Not only does your support mean the world to us, you do. We love so many of you. We're excited when we get to see you, and we really hope that we can see you in person sometime here soon. So I hope all is well. Hang in there. God is still on the throne, and there's a lot of good to be done, even in the midst of a challenging world right now. So we love you all. We thank you all, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.